Hey, Viking fans, this is Keith Millard, and you are listening to the One Bar and Lupicus Show. Go Vikes!
All right, welcome back to another episode of One Bar and Lupicus. I am One Bar with Lupicus, and it is time to get out those ref jerseys. It's been quite a while. It is good ref, not bad ref. Lupicus, what is our topic this evening?
Our topic is, should the Vikings still consider a defensive end at pick 14? Good ref, bad ref. I will be playing the role of a good ref, which means I am for them still doing that. And you are playing the bad ref, which means you are against it. Here, I thought we just accidentally wore the same shirts, but I guess there was a reason for it.
I wish we had a whistle right now. We need to get a whistle for this.
I have one somewhere.
I don't. I'll never have a whistle.
Well, maybe you should coach younglings how to play football.
All right. Well, good ref, bad ref. So, yes, I will be against that defensive end in round one. You'll be for it. I'm going to give you the honors of starting your reasoning.
I'm going to start with my least reason. My least convincing reason is this. Defensive end could still be the best player on the board at pick 14. You can see a run at quarterbacks. We could see a run, well, not a run at tackles, but Rashawn Slater could be gone. Penei Sewell should be gone. The receivers should all be picked clean as well. So when the Vikings are sitting there at pick 14, it's very well possible that Kwity Paye and or Greg Rousseau are one of the best prospects on the board. And if you're truly sticking to your board, you're picking BPA, that position might just be defensive end.
It's a valid argument. It's valid. I think if all those guys are gone and Kwity Paye and Greg Rousseau are there, somebody else should be there. I mean, you look at the offensive lineman like a Rashawn Slater. Are you taking him over Rashawn Slater?
All right, I had Slater gone.
I mean, somebody's going to go up there. So whether it's best player available, I think there will be neck and neck. The thing with defensive ends in round one this year is they're all over the board. You got Greg Rousseau some people have him ranked 25. Some people have ranked Kwity Paye at 15 to 30. So it all depends on what their board is in best player available. I think my my first reason as far as why I think we definitely do not need a defensive end in round one is, and this is an easy one, we just brought back Mr. Weatherly. So while he's not the long-term answer, while he's not just going to fill all of our needs, you look at our depth chart, then you got Odenigbo, you have Danielle Hunter, you have DJ Wanham, and now you put Weatherly in the mix. Even if we draft a guy in round one, how much is he actually going to play? How much of an impact is he going to have day one to help to get the Vikings over the hump?
I'm glad you brought that up. First of all, let's move back. You know, you mentioned Kwity Paye, Greg Rousseau being 15 to 32. I've also seen them both inside the top 15. So let's not get our freaking cockles up over that. As far as Stephen Weatherly goes, this is what pisses me off. Everybody's talking like Stephen Weatherly is the second coming of Leonard Little.
Leonard Little? That was a really bad. That was just horrible. No, I'm glad you're taking a sip. I said Weatherly, he's very good with the Vikings. Vikings know how to use him. He was coming on the last 2 years, and he's not a long-term guy, but he is a guy that will improve this defensive line compared to what it was last year.
I'm not going to argue he's going to improve the defensive line. Here's my point. What did he do last year for the Carolina Panthers as a starter? Started 9 games.
Do for the Panthers.
What did he do? He had 17 total tackles. He had no sacks, 1 tackle for a loss. As a starter with the Vikings, he had 3 sacks. This guy's never had more than 3 sacks in a season. Don't give me the shit that him coming back is the solution. I mean, Stephen Weatherly he's not proven that he's not a starting defensive end. So I don't think, he helps the depth. He helps the depth is what he does.
Well, and depth was our issue. Odenigbo didn't really light up the stat sheet. We got Danielle Hunter coming back. Last year was just meant to fail for the defensive ends for the Minnesota Vikings. And I will say it again, Weatherly is strictly a depth guy. I think he has like 6 career sacks. And he's not the answer, but he helps fill the void. My thing is, if a guy like Kwity Paye or Greg Rousseau come in who are both fairly raw, they're probably not going to see the field that much. I want a guy in round one that is going to see the field, make an impact, and help this 7-9 Vikings team get back to, maybe 10-6.
Yeah, but you don't know they're not going to do that. I mean, you're saying they probably won't, but who else is going to be there? You got DJ Wanham is a pure question mark. Yeah, he had 3 sacks last year, but he also faded out halfway through the season. Couldn't do anything the last 4 or 5 games. Fidi Adenabo, he proved he's not a starter last year. I hope he goes back to that bench role, comes in situationally. Maybe he gets those 7 sacks again. The one thing you do get back is Dino Hunter. Is that enough to offset not taking a defensive end in round one? I mean, you got Kwity Paye, who he's got a motor, doesn't have that long, lean build, but the guy, I mean, he goes balls to the wall every single snap. To think he can't beat out somebody like Stephen Weatherly, Fidi Adenabo, Jalen Holmes, DJ Wanham is crazy. Greg Russo, I mean, you freaking go to a lab, you extract DNA from every great pass rusher who's ever played in the NFL.
Wow.
You put it in a test tube. Everything you mix together, you put in that slide, put it in the incubator, whatever the hell you do. You grow it in the lab. You're going to get Greg Rousseau. I mean, he is the prototypical defensive end. This guy's coming off a huge season a couple years ago when he did play last. He did take a year off last year. Everything's there for him to succeed. You put him against opposite Daniel Hunter. I mean, the potential is there to be crazy. So I'd rather have one of those guys on my team who could maybe, there's no guarantees, but there's no guarantees with anybody else on this roster. So I would much rather have one of those first-round defensive ends at 14 just to have that potential that, maybe we do have that elite pass rusher finally opposite Daniel Hunter on this team.
Yeah, I mean, that's quite the you just gave Greg Rousseau pretty much a Hall of Fame caliper description there. I mean, he's got 1 year, and then he opted out. I mean, I remember a guy named Barcavius Mingo who was also at Miami and was just looked at this guy who's going to come in and have 10 to 15 sacks every damn year, and he's shit the bed. Look at the other Michigan. We're talking a lot of Greg Rousseau and Kwity Paye. Look at the other Michigan defensive linemen that have came out in the past 5 years. Name one that has actually transitioned to the NFL.
Taco Charlton.
The guy's been like on 12 teams. No, nobody. And Kwity Paye, don't get me wrong. I've talked up Kwity Paye quite a bit. Unfortunately, I'm on the side where I need to talk against him, and I can do this very easily. Kwity Paye is all about his power, his athletic ability. When it comes to his fundamentals and technique, he is very much lacking. So he's going to be a little bit of a project. Greg Rousseau is going to be a project. I don't care if he had 15 and a half sacks. He is a young, fresh puppy, and he's got a ways to go. None of these guys are day one starters. I want a day one starter at pick 14.
No one currently on the Vikings roster is a day one starter other than Daniel Hunter. So why not bring in a guy who, again, has that potential? When I think of Greg Rousseau, I think of, remember the G.I. Joe when they made Serpentor? They went and they got like DNA from Genghis Khan and like all these great warriors from over the years, and they made Serpentor. I think Greg Rousseau is Serpentor of the NFL. You remember that, don't you?
I don't know what Serpento is.
You don't remember Serpentor? All right,
No.
Everybody leave it in the comments if you remember Serpentor from G.I. Joe. He wore like a yellow suit. He had like a snake head on him. He was inside the snake head.
Isn't he from Star Wars?
No, he's not from Star Wars.
I remember Snake Eyes. I remember Flint. I mean, there's some key guys there, but Serpento does not sound familiar.
Serpentor. You gotta say it right. If you're gonna take the argument that a guy from Michigan's never done it before, eventually someone is going to. You can't just not take a guy because it hasn't happened in the past. Doesn't mean it won't happen down the road. To me, if you're sitting there at 14, you still have to consider a pass rusher. And Greg Rousseau, Kwity Paye are there. I think they're very much in play, just as much as anybody else is, because even with Stephen Weatherly on the team, there's nothing but question marks opposite Daniel Hunter. So very much in play.
Well, I'll throw this one on here as a Hail Mary at the end. While I think edge rusher is still a need, I don't think it's an immediate need. And I just went and looked at a 2022 NFL mock draft before we hopped on here. And in the top 10 picks, 6 defensive ends went there. And right now in this draft, if we take a defensive end and edge rusher at 14, it's going to be like one of the first ones off the board. This is not a strong class. It's almost just like, hey, here's the guys. We're getting to the point where you can probably take them. Where next year, they are fully loaded.
You think the Vikings are going to pick in the top 10 next year? Is that what you're saying?
If they draft Kwity Paye, they will.
Boy, I don't think so. I don't think so at all.
Is that all you got?
Well, I mean, who gives a shit? It's a 2022 mock draft in March.
And I read it. It was beautiful.
I mean, I don't know why you even brought that up. That's great.
My point is next year seems to be a lot more top heavy at defensive end than this year. This year, I mean, you have just this random potpourri of Kwity Paye, Greg Rousseau, Jalen Phillips. I mean, who am I missing here? There's just these random guys that nobody knows where we're going to go. It's not like a Caleb Farley or Kyle Pitts where these guys are top 10 guys. Kwity Paye and these guys are just like, we don't know where they're going to go. They'll probably go around this pick, but we're not really sure.
Well, you can say about anybody this year because of the whole weird COVID season with some teams not playing, guys opting out. So the whole year is jacked. So I don't know. I can't put any kind of faith into a 2022 mock right now where you're projecting guys down the road. I mean, Greg Essinger, or whatever the hell his name was from the Gophers, was projected to be a first-round pick a year out, and he ended up being undrafted. So, yeah, I don't think you can really pull out.
My point is there's some pretty
that was a Hail Mary
on the defensive line.
I'm just saying, you're picking there at 14. It might just be the time where those defensive ends are your best option. Roll with it. You still need it. Stephen Weatherly does not solve anything. I do like the move. It's a great depth move. But to me, it's Danielle Hunter and a bunch of dudes right now. So that's where we stand.
Well, I'll finish with this. Is if it comes down to it, and you're looking at the Vikings in 2021, would you rather have just another good piece to put on the defensive line with a defensive line that will have Michael Pierce back, Danielle Hunter, and we got Weatherly coming back? Or would you rather shore up that offensive line or possibly give them a weapon? Because those are very, very weak parts of this Vikings team right now. Where the defensive line, you could say is, you can't argue, you could say it's probably at worst average right now.
Oh, and here's the difference maker for me. The defense was the problem last year. Our offense was great. We were going
but we're getting Pierce back, we're getting Hunter back, and we're getting Anthony Barr back.
Yeah, that's great. Is it enough? I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. But here's the thing. You had a very functional offense with a horseshit O-line. How much is a guard going to really help you? Is it going to push you? Where is it going to push you? In
to the
top
Super Bowl.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's something the team's got to decide. But to me, defense is still the issue. I would rather see two premier pass rushers on the edge with Michael Pierce and Anthony Barr back. I want to see this defense take over games, hold teams to under 20 points a game, not give up 30 plus. So I'm still looking at that as one of our biggest needs. As far as if you're going to go O-line or D-end, it depends who's there. I mean, there's guys I like better than others, and I'd be happier with than others, but I've made it clear. I'm not a huge fan of taking the O-line at 14.
Well, make sure to let us know in the comments. You want defensive end or do you want something else? Can't wait. Can't wait to see it. And especially that G.I. Joe guy that I've never heard of.
Serpentor.
Platypus. What was his name?
Serpentor. I want to see how many people remember Serpentor. He actually almost killed Duke. He threw a snake through him in the G.I. Joe movie.
Nobody saw that.
It was freaking amazing. All right, maybe, we'll see. I'm going to see more people seeing the G.I. Joe movie than you remember.
They might have.
And you'll always remember this. There are more chickens than people in the world.